Hello, my name is Kevin Cabrillo. Today is going to be our second installment of our video project, which is part 2, where we are actually going to be exploring the difference of explosive type exercises and, more importantly, plyometrics itself. A lot of fast directions, fast movements, more complicated areas than resistant training that we did in our first video. So more about cardio, but at the same time, we are still working out different aspects of the body. So with this, we will begin with our first exercise slash warm up. This is going to be our warm up segment where we are going to be starting out just running on the treadmill for 5 minutes. So this is going to warm up our body, and more importantly, it's going to actually working both interior and posterior chains of our lower body, and provides a consistent surface and speed, allowing us to get a little bit more controlled and sustained effort and getting us ready for the exercises to come. It primarily just works on the quadriceps, hamstrings, and glutes and calves, but at the same time, it actually just increases our body temperature where our muscles are about to get warmed up and getting ready for our workout and to begin our action. For our next exercise of our warm-up, we are going to do our high knee hip rotation exercise. So it's to perform high knee raises combined with hip rotation, which enhances hip mobility and coordination. So when it comes to this, it involves just our knees lifting at hip level, using our knees to engage our outward rotation, engaging our lower body and core muscles. More importantly, this actually just works on our hip flexors, quadriceps, and glutes, especially with our core stabilizers and our obliques, and more importantly, our hamstrings. So for our next warm-up phase, we are actually going to start doing our shoulder rolls to arm swings forward and backwards. So we are going to use this exercise that involves our circular shoulder movements and our dynamic arm movements. It keeps our arms loose and warm for the shoulder joints, while arm swings promote dynamic flexibility and coordination, making sure we can stretch little by little of our arms in our in our chest area. But more importantly, for the shoulder rolls, it actually targets those rotator cuffs so we can get everything moving, and more importantly, loosen and not to damage it during our workout. For our next warm-up, we are going to do specific warm-up exercises. So with this, we are going to do a 180 forward move-it squat, 10 meters forward and 10 meters back. As you see me, I am actually moving forward in this position, just actually working on mobility. As you can tell, I am actually a little bit stumbling because I haven't done this in a while. But this is a great way of actually just working on flexibility and also extending your legs horizontally, and more importantly, working on flexion and making sure rotation posture is good. So when it comes to this is actually mainly working on our hamstring, glutes, and more importantly, our hips as well, maintaining our flexing in both knees and hips, actually making sure that we are not just doing this as a speed workout, but more importantly, we are just doing this as a warm-up to actually just loosen up our glutes and hamstrings to be ready for anything when it comes to this workout, which we are going to be going over in a little bit. For our next warm-up exercise, we are actually going to be doing bounding. Now I'm starting the recording early because it is a quick snippet, and bounding is a really not too fast, but at the same time, it is a fast-paced warm-up. So this is a explosive plyometrics exercise that involves leaping forward from one foot to the other to enhance power, speed, and coordination. So bounding involves dynamic repetitive leaps that emphasizes a stretch, shortening cycles of muscles that move and engage the lower body muscles and improve elastic properties of the tendons and muscles to enhance overall athletic performance. So with this, it actually just uses quadriceps, hamstring, glutes, and calves. Secondary could be hip flexors and core stabilizers. Knowing as me as a cross-country advocate and also an athlete in the past itself, this is actually helping on stabilization to maintaining a good posture technique to make sure to be landing on your feet. The next exercise warm-up we are doing is our forward inchworm exercise. So this is a really nice exercise, especially when we're moving forward. With inchworms, a dynamic warm-up is a flexibility exercise that involves walking with the hands out into a plank position, the arm extended when the feet are with feet up to meet the hands. So basically meaning that we are going to be in a almost reaching down, touching our toes position and inching a little bit forward every single time we have actually reached our toes to our hands, proceeding with our hands moving forward. Now, when it comes to dynamics, this is actually a stretching, stability, and core engagement. So it involves us movement patterns that activate the stretch of the muscles for a posture change while engaging the core and upper body for stabilization. Now, the primary targets are hands and calves, but more importantly, it does involve the core muscles and shoulders and chest to maintain the stabilization. As you see, I'm doing some push-ups to also warm up the body with the triceps to actually get some activation going. So this is a very phenomenal exercise to work on flexibility and extension. So time to begin our workout, which is going to be our first modality, which is going to also be upper body plyometrics with medicine ball. And our first set is going to be our standard chest slam, where we're going to actually use a powerful force and power to actually use this as a movement of our forceful downward motion of utilizing the upper body and core muscles, and also enhances our explosive strength and power. This primarily it works on primary deltoids, triceps, and core muscles, especially activating the lower body muscles for stabilization, enhancing our movement, and also keeping our speed moderate so we can make sure to complete this workout. For our next exercise or set, we are doing chest slams with a forward step. Now, this is the same concept with the standard chest slam, which is, of course, activating a lot of force forward and utilizing upper body and core muscles to engage and enhance explosive strength and power. However, using this standard of motion of moving forward, it actually works as on stabilization, such as our lower body, to keep a body in check. Now, there's a lot of times you can easily use an outer way of, or like for example, if you're doing a lunge movement, forward lunge, you can use that concept to help direct you throughout this exercise. But more importantly, you can actually just pretend that you are stepping out slightly at an angle where instead of moving forward as you normally walk to a slight angle to actually help you to keep stable, to make sure that your posture and of course the exercise does not make you fall or just stumble when you're actually moving forward. Instead, it actually enhances you to use the power of your arms and, more importantly, activating your chest muscles to throw the power into the arms into the ball. Now, to begin with our third set of the exercise is what we're going to do are alternating chest slams. So with this exercise involves a dynamic rotation movement of the medicine ball is slammed alternately with our right and left arms. So this rotation component engages the obliques and core stabilizers while the upper body generates the power in each slam. So knowing that it targets the pectoral major, deltoids, triceps, and obliques. The activation also includes the latissimus dorsi, core stabilizers, and lower body muscles for stabilization. This is a really great way of actually just improving individual arm strength, knowing with the triceps, it actually inputs a lot more power on each side. So this could be a very great workout when it comes to working on a weak side, such as a weak arm, to actually improve strength and power. For our second exercise of set 1, we are going to be doing overhead medicine ball throws exercise. So this is actually going to using our explosive power to actually throw the ball overhead to develop upper body power and core strength and coordination again. Now, this exercise involves a powerful extension of the arms, activation of the core muscles to generate force on the throw downwards to make sure that we can enhance the strength and power in the upper body while engaging that lower body to stabilize when we are throwing the ball by force. Now, when it comes to muscle activation, it does work on deltoids, triceps, pectorals major, and core muscles. Also, including the glutes and lower body muscles for stabilization, as I mentioned. This is a great chance to actually see exactly how much power you can force. Knowing the fact I was using a medicine ball, I went heavier and I used a 20-pounder to kind of make up the weight difference, and more importantly, helping me to activate the triceps to slam as much as I can. But you can also use a dead ball, which is basically a matted or just beanbag feel of a medicine ball, so you can activate even more power. For our second set of exercise, we are actually going to be doing rainbow throw overhead medicine ball. So with this, it's actually going to use the same thing, explosive power of the medicine ball to develop upper body strength. However, we are going to be doing a rotation that works on side power. So what this comes to is actually extension with the arms and activation of the core muscles while slightly rotating our chest and core to work on that lower body movement as well to keep us stable. But more importantly, it focuses on our main deltoids, tricep, and pectoral muscles and our core. The core as being the way we're rotating, but more importantly, our triceps are more engaged to lift the ball from one side to the other to slam it, but then moving on to the next side. So as you see, I'm basically throwing the ball on one side, keeping that rainbow shape over my head, making the ball not go forward, not backwards, but just directly over my head in a rainbow shape to make sure I can keep that stabilization, but also enhance that power when it comes to throwing it down. For our second exercise of set 1, we are going to be doing overhead medicine ball throws exercise. So this is actually going to using our explosive power to actually throw the ball overhead to develop upper body power and core strength and coordination again. Now, this exercise involves a powerful extension of the arms, activation of the core muscles to generate force on the throw downwards to make sure that we can enhance the strength and power in the upper body while engaging that lower body to stabilize when we are throwing the ball by force. Now, when it comes to muscle activation, it does work on deltoids, triceps, pectorals major, and core muscles. Also, including the glutes and lower body muscles for stabilization, as I mentioned. This is a great chance to actually see exactly how much power you can force. knowing the fact I was using a medicine ball, I went heavier and I used a 20-pounder to kind of make up the weight difference, and more importantly, helping me to activate the triceps to slam as much as I can. But you can also use a dead ball, which is basically a matted or just beanbag feel of a medicine ball, so you can activate even more power. For our next exercise, we're going to be beginning with our modality number 2. With that said, we are going to be doing hurdle speed drills with a forward hops. So when this is actually what this exercise involves is explosive leg power and coordination to hop over hurdles at a place certain height, with emphasized quick ground contact times to effect efficient forward movement, which actually targets the quadriceps and quadriceps, hamstrings, and calves, and more importantly our glutes, to actually make sure that we get that bouncing effect. But more importantly, we're not standing still, we're moving forward through the hurdles in one direction as fast as possible, but more importantly, making sure to focus on stabilization. For our next exercise, we are going to be doing speed drills with lateral hops. So with this one, it actually performs lateral hops over the hurdles, enhancing lateral quickness, agility, and lower body coordination. Now, when it comes to lateral movement, that requires rapid muscle contractions to focus on hopping over the hurdles and placing at a certain distance apart to emphasize the lateral stability and explosiveness, and more importantly, make sure to land properly when engaging into another motion over another hurdle. Now, this is actually going to work on hip abductors, the outer thigh, but more importantly, the quadriceps, hamstrings, calves, and glutes, and engages core, because we want to focus on stability and balance throughout this whole segment of the workout. Knowing the fact that any kind of hurdle that you use, for me, I use a little bit of a little foldable hurdle to actually make sure that it works on my lateral quickness, but also the length of my hops when I jump over the hurdles. For our next exercise in the last set, we are actually going to begin with our left and right leg hops. So with this, we are actually going to be going forward one leg at a time and forward with the other leg. So when it comes to this option, it is the same movement as a hop, but mainly focusing on a single leg, where we are actually working a little bit more on stability, but power and control on the way down. Now, when it comes to a hop movement, yes, it is slightly going slow. However, with just single leg and moving forward, it limits the capability of successfully having no problem whatsoever to actually getting over a hurdle, compared to just doing single leg. Where, as for me, I have suffered a knee injury in the past, where this is basic therapy for me, but also still working on the power and capability of maintaining a stable knee, maintaining a stable core, to make sure that I can land perfectly and able to get over the hurdle with my hamstrings, quads, and more importantly, our calves pushing off with power, so I can be successful to completing this exercise. Now for the exercise number 2, we are actually going to be doing our single leg bound. So this is not a hop, this is a bound. So mainly actually using quickness motion to hop over the hurdles, but actually doing it at a faster pace compared to a hop. However, with a single leg, it's important to actually just focus on just leaning forward while hopping, making this a quick forward movement using the power from your lower body, that including your core, to stabilize when you're coming up and down the ladder, or excuse me, the hurdles. So making sure that you're maintaining that capability of keeping straight and also not fumbling, and more importantly not falling. So it's important to use your legs, such as your hamstrings, your glutes, and your calf muscles to induce that power, but also keeping your feet, using the flexibility in your feet as well to launch off, to keep a forward motion while you're moving up and down. So for our next exercise, we are going to be alternating bounds, which is basically performing alternating bounds over hurdles to develop stride strength, explosive power, and coordination. Now, this exercise involves a dynamic bounding motion where me alternates the legs while jumping over hurdles placed in intervals of actually spacing out one another, but also having different kind of areas where it's short and large to actually work on different adjusting angles of actually takeoff and, more importantly, landing. Now, while jumping over the hurdles, I will emphasize the maximizing stride length and maintaining momentum, not stopping, but more importantly, just finishing the workout. So when it comes to this exercise, it primarily focuses on quadriceps, hamstrings, calves, and glutes. It also engages the core muscles for stability and balance, but more importantly, it's also important to make sure to keep your feet in place, or more like actually just making sure that you keep your feet planted while in motion of actually moving on forward like a running motion. But bounding, as I mentioned, it actually includes just a slow pace running motion where you focus on the stability and, more importantly, the power of actually maintaining that launch speed. For our last set exercise, we're doing the same thing but in reverse. So reverse alternating bounds, where this is going to be alternating bounds over hurdles, backward agility, explosive power, and coordination. This is a little bit more tricky because it's very hard to understand exactly how to do the bounding correctly. So if you needed making sure to keep you stable and not falling forward or hurting yourself, make sure to have the capability of stabilizing your body before you're moving into the next bounding sequence. Now, when it comes to this, it actually is the bounding motion, but at the same time, we're jumping backwards over the hurdles instead of actually maintaining a forward movement. So it's a backwards movement in efficiency, but at the same time we are moving backwards. So with this, it targets the quadriceps and hamstrings, but not too much of the calves, but also more of the glutes since we're pushing off. But it engages the core to make sure we're stable, but also we are actually working on balance throughout the bounding motion. As you can see, it was a struggle to keep making sure that I can actually stay stable. For our next exercise modality, we're doing open agility drills with cones, but we're going to use water bottles to replace it since I didn't have cones to be available to me. So for the first one, we're doing forward sprinting of touching cones or touching the bottles. So what this is going to be set up as a W drill, which we're going to space out to 10 by 8. More importantly, just using the backyard to actually represent that. So with this agility, it's actually shaped in a W shape of the cones. As you see, I'm actually moving slightly laterally, on moving not up and down, but slightly moving up, then down at a slant, which that means that is the W drill, making me actually move the cone to cone, but in a W shape motion. So with this one, this is going to work on agility, fast-paced movements, and more importantly, to make sure that our constant coordination of stopping and touching the cones and reaching our destination to improve our enhance and capability of explosive power once we touch the cone to move on to the very end of the set or the very end of the cone, so we can move on to the next set of workouts. So with this, it improves our hamstring and calves for that explosive power, but also working the cardio aspect of actually making sure that we can reach our cones as we need to. For our second set of exercise, we are going to be doing our lateral shuffle, which we're going to be just enhancing our lateral quickness, agility, and change of direction. This exercise involves rapid lateral movements between the cones to place at intervals, but emphasizes maintaining a low center of gravity for quick changes in directions and working on footwork, which primary targets are adductors, outer thighs, quadriceps, hamstrings, calves, and glutes, but also engages the core muscles for stability and balance to maintain while we are doing our lateral quick movements to cone or to water ball to water ball. for our third set, we're doing it backwards and forwards, lateral quickness, agility training. So this one is actually going to be using our cones as once again, but we are going to be both practicing a forward and backward movements, enhancing our overall agility, but also the change of direction and coordination that we are going to be focusing on when it comes to actually maintaining a forward and backward pace. Now, this is actually going to involve a dynamic movement that between cones placed in different positionings, but focus on efficient transitions from forward to backwards and vice versa. This is actually going to emphasize the quick changes in direction, footwork, and maintaining balance, and also targets the hamstrings and calves and glutes for both forward and backward movements, showing us that the core muscle is engaged throughout the stabilizing part of this exercise to make sure that we can help change directions as needed. Now for the second exercise, and this is set one of this exercise. This is going to be a 4-corner touch. So we're doing our first one as a regular corner touch. Now with this one, we are going to be actually using this where this drill as a speed to touch drill, where we're going to be actually having our square shape and emphasizing speed and agility when it comes to sharp turns. Now with this one, this is actually involve rapid sprinting and quick lateral changes in direction to move to one cone to the other, and so on and so forth. So for this style, it's moving from one cone, touching back to the original cone that we started, and including another cone around the corner, so on and so forth, until we finish that last set while we just sprint to the finish. Now this is going to be focusing on lateral quickness, as I mentioned, and mostly accelerating quickness and maintaining speed. So with that said, it does include the quadriceps, hamstrings, and calves, and the glutes to help for sprinting and also changing directions as needed, enhancing the core muscles to actually stabilize the body while doing rapid movements and turns. As I begin to get set up for the next exercise, we are going to be doing diagonal shuffle, which is going to be a very good enhancing drill to work on lateral shuffle, but at the same time, we are doing it in a diagonal pattern that emphasizes agility, quickness, and coordination. Now, when it comes to this exercise, it's focused on lateral movements and quick changes in direction as a subject, as myself, shuffles into a diagonally between cones placed in different intervals. Now, when it comes to the emphasizing maintaining a low center of mass, we are still being in that shuffle position, but we're shuffling laterally to our right, then moving quickly in a diagonal shape just into our top left cone, shuffling to our top right cone, and shuffling down in a diagonal shape to our bottom left cone. Now, this is going to be working on our hip abductors, which is the outer side, to actually push off, to work off the power, and more importantly, working on our hamstrings and calves to make sure that we maintain the power and efficiency in our legs. But remember, core muscles are the important part when it comes to these kind of shuffles, so we are working on that stabilization as well while we're doing this. Now, as I begin to get ready for my last set, is going to be our sprint to shuffle. Now, with this exercise, is going to be working on our primary hip adductors, which is the outer thighs, but more importantly, we are working with our quadriceps, hamstrings, calves, and glutes. Now, with the first part of this motion, we're going to focus on lateral movement, but also quick changes in direction, but forward sprinting. So when it comes to the start, we're going to do our sprint all out to our first cone and laterally change our directions by shuffling to our right. But then after that, we are going to be moving on to another sprinting formation while we quickly change out of our lateral shift and move into a forward sprint and doing our lateral shuffle to our cone that we started at, maintaining our stability and making sure that we can complete 2 laps and finishing that first set, moving into the second set and finishing after that. For our exercise modality 4, we are going to be doing our ladder drills with lower body. So we're going to be doing exercise 1 as lateral moving down and back, with the first set being 2 in and 2 out. Now with this one, we are going to be moving laterally down the ladder with quick step in and out of each ladder space and a specific pattern, and to enhance footwork and speed, and including coordination and body agility. So with this one, we are going to be rapidly working with our feet while we're going to be putting or starting outside or inside the squares, and we are going to be moving back and forth simply by actually keeping our feet putting our feet in and moving down the ladder, making sure our 2 feet are together while jumping back and forth in and out of the squares to maintain that stability, but also having that hopping motion, but lateral quickness to make sure we can get done as fast as we can, but to maintain the capability of putting our feet in the squares to have a successful exercise or a successful set of this workout. For our next set, we are doing forward and backward in and out movements of lateral quickness. Now, with this, we are actually going to be using the agility ladder and stepping in and out of each ladder space in a specific pattern. This time, we're going to be doing still enhancing our foot speed and coordination and our body strength in our lower behalf. However, we are going to be using a huge rapid footwork and quickness and change. Now, instead of doing a hop or a little 2 in 2 out motion, we are doing a quick in and out motion with quickly running back and forth or quickly stepping in and out back and forth, laterally having a lateral movement to maintain that quick and efficient movement speed. But this is going to be working our hamstrings and calves and glutes and for that rapid step and direction change, but also making sure that our core is engaged to make sure that we stabilize the body and able to successfully put our feet in and out through this process. Now it's time for our last set, which is going to be our high knee lateral movement. So with this one, we are going to be maintaining that lateral quickness speed, but we're not going to do any in and out. However, we are going to maintain by putting both feet in each square. So maintaining that high knee flexion towards the hip direction, we are going to make sure that we are activating our core as we stabilize our motion forward and back laterally. But we are going to work on quadriceps, glutes, and hamstrings, and more importantly, our calves to maintain our pushing power into that high knee. But the thing is that we're going to maintain to put our feet in each box, both in a sequence where we are going to do 1, 2, move into the next box, 1, 2, and so on and so forth. Now for our exercise number 2, we are going to be using our quick feet forward movement. So laterally, we're going to be moving forward. Now with this one, we're going to be doing an Icky Shuffle, where basically it's named after a professional hockey player. However, this one is going to be actually involving lateral movements, but going in a forward pace, actually doing a rhythmic pattern, using the agility ladder to enhance foot speed, agility, and coordination. So with this one, it's actually going to be a diagonal lateral footwork that involves us to be outside the box but inside the box at the same time. As you see, I start on the outside but then work my way in on the inside and then work my way out, but we're moving from a diagonal way of still stepping in each box as I go forward. So this is going to be working with our hip adductors, our quadriceps, hamstrings, calves, and glutes for that lateral movement, quick in directions to maintain the stability. Of course, the core is activated, but more importantly, to see that we are actually using head and foot coordination to make sure that we maintain the capability of stepping in each box without having any error. Now for our second step, we are moving into our 2 steps. So with this, it's going to be a quick miniature hops, but not really hops, but this is like forward movement with just both toes. We're not really doing any hopping. We're not using a lot of strength, but we're using a lot of quickness in our calves and feet and maintaining a good motion forward to actually helping us to maintain momentum moving into each square properly. Now, as you can see, I'm doing this very fast, so this is actually the reason why this is very useful. It helps us stop on a dime, as they call it in basketball, to actually improve footwork and coordination to make sure that we can stay stable when it comes to those motions of actually stepping into each square in a specific position to maintain our way of actually successfully completing this exercise. Finally, for our last set, we are doing a vertical forward shuffle. So quickly, this is going to be emphasizing the quick lateral forward movement, where we are actually going to be quickly moving our feet into per square, where we're just putting 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 basically in each square moving forward. Now, this is going to be working on forward movement, and more importantly, we're going to make sure that we touch every single square with both of our feet, which is going to include our core muscles for actually keeping us stable while we're moving, but also we're going to be working with our quadriceps, hamstrings, calves, and glutes to make sure the forward movement is stable and making sure that we can be able to successfully complete this workout as well. More importantly, the faster each set we try to go as fast as we can to actually see how fast we can successfully complete each roundabout or forward and back movement as fast as we can. For our next exercise, we're going to be doing our fifth modality, which is going to be our agility lateral upper body. So with this one, we're going to be doing a traveling push-up and a lateral movement. So we're doing this only once because of the difficulty, and depending on where the exercise is, it's going to be a very tough movement. Now with this one, it's a very unique movement. So this is including upper body, so we're not using too much of the lower leg except for keeping our feet set as we are moving down the ladder. Now with this includes our tricep, our core, our back upper back muscles to maintain the stability, but also being able to functionally do the push-up. With this motion, it's basically doing a push-up, however we're using almost a lateral push off of our left or right, depending when we reach the end of the ladder, to actually keep our lateral pace at motion. Now this is going to maintain a huge way of working the triceps, and it's a great to see how much power and also endurance, or more importantly, strength that you will have to maintain within this workout. For our next set, we're doing our 2-hand in and out. So as we did it before in our lower body, we're doing it a little bit different in our upper body. We're keeping 2 hands within 1 square, but more importantly, we're going to be moving laterally down in a lateral movement, but we're going to put our 2 hands in and out of the squares by moving laterally. Now, with this one's going to engage your core, triceps, shoulders, and your upper back to actually maintain the stabilization, and more importantly, using the strength and power to push off into a little bit of a hopping motion within squares to be able to move back and forth. Now, this is a very tricky exercise, especially to keep your body engaged, but it's a very unique way of actually working the shoulders, importantly, to actually work together with your body to maintain the stabilization and helping you successfully complete the workout without any error. So finally, for our set 3 workout in exercise 1, we are going to be doing our 2-arm walk. So with this it's actually going to be a little bit of just having our hands in 2 separate squares. However, we're doing lateral movements by pushing off with our left and right arm when we reach the final square. Now, when it comes to this, we are working our core, shoulders, triceps, and our upper back to maintain the capability of actually pushing off with our dominant hand from the right side to the left side. Now, with this one is going to engage our core muscles as well to make sure that our stabilization is key, but also having our feet in a posture of extension to make sure that we don't lose our balance. So this one is a very good, unique way of showing power and strength while actually moving down at a quick speed, maintaining the motion and trying not to stop, knowing the fact that it is a tough workout using the capability of your arms to laterally move. However, it is a great way to actually show the power that you build up throughout your strength and conditioning workouts. For our exercise number 2, we're doing stationary arm movements, and the first set we are going to be doing is in and out quick movements. Now with this one, we are going to be doing in and out movements with using our hands instead of our feet. Now with this one is going to be actually working more of our triceps and also our pecs chest area, excuse me. More importantly, we're going to be focusing on the pectoral muscles is the definition, deltoids, triceps, and core stabilizers. Now, this is going to be a dynamic movement that engages the muscles and strength and stability of both, doing the lateral movement from up to down while we be a stable position. But this is going to be a very tough one, knowing that we're still making a fast pace, and we're going to work for 30 seconds to 15 seconds of rest. But we're going to do this 3 times, knowing that this is a quick movement until we are finished with this set workout. For set 2, we're going to be doing our separate hand shuffle. So with this is going to be actually going to start on the outside of the turf and enter the rubber of the ladder. So with this one, it's going to emphasize the focus on lateral movements with the hands and eye coordination, maintaining the emphasis of using a low center of gravity for quick transitions and precise hand placements. So with this is going to primarily target the hip abductors, the outer thighs, and maintaining the stabilization. But more importantly, it's actually going to work our hands, our forearms, triceps, and shoulders, and it's going to make sure that our hands are flexed as we're doing this. As you notice, I am only putting one hand in the box. It's just because it's for there to keep me in the safe area of understanding what I'm doing. In reality, I could put it in the ladder as a lateral position. However, this seems better for me since I was a stable position, so this would be more realistic. This one is still going to be 30 seconds on and 15 seconds of rest. However, there are going to be times where I tend to struggle / slow down or just miss a box and I kind of screw myself up. However, I still want to hop back into it to maintain the exercise time. For our final step, we are doing our shuffle push-ups. Now with this one, we are going to be shuffling our hands in and out of the square, but we're going to be almost doing like a diamond or closed-handed push-ups, where we're going to be doing a push-up while we're in the square, and we're going to repeat the process. Now this is a series of push-ups while actually moving laterally or in and out, if you say, with our hands, keeping our vertical positioning in the stable position, that is, to actually enhance upper body strength and stability. Now this is an exercise combines upper body strength and using the movement as a focus of maintaining proper push-ups while we are transitioning when it comes to shuffling with our hands, to keeping our challenge in our stability with the core. Now this is going to target our muscles, which is going to be our deltoids, triceps, and core, and we're going to use dynamic movements to enhance the muscles for strength and stability during both the push-ups and the quick movements. For our next exercise, we're going to be doing our sixth modality, which is going to be our trunk body plyometrics without equipment, and we're going to be doing mountain climber jumps. Now with this one, this is going to be a standard shoulder width with arms extended. So we are going to be doing explosive mountain climbers, but we're going to be putting our feet together and in doing a jump that targets our core strength, agility, and in our endurance as well. This combines a dynamic movement of mountain climbers with the explosive jump, engaging the core and upper and lower body muscles that emphasizes coordination and balance and power. So this is going to primarily target the core muscles, but also the shoulders and chest, but more importantly, the quadricep as well. The explosive jump adds intensity and activates the fast twitch muscle fibers to power the development of this movement. For the next set, we are doing standard shoulder width and arms flex mountain climber jumps. Now with this one, it's going to enhance our tricep massively because we are using that as our wrist and our arms are going to be flexed. To perform this, we're going to be being in the shoulder width apart. However, we are going to be slightly doing almost like a push-up. However, we're on the down position push-up with that arm flex. This is going to be engaging more of our triceps, but also the same aspects of using our abdominals and obliques. But as I said, the triceps are the main category of using this as an effective training exercise, but it targets our core muscles more efficiently, which is actually working our strength massively when it comes to actually maintaining a stable positioning and actually having the explosive jumps to actually work our fast twitch fiber muscles. For our next exercise, we're doing our Russian twist with our standard positions with knees bent. This is your usual Russian twist, but we are going to be engaging the stability of our core and more importantly focusing on our upper and lower core strength. This is actually a really great exercise which is going to work our stabilizers and but more importantly work our hip and also our core, which is going to be our main focus, where we are going to maintain the stability but also having a slight twist to maintain while almost using our elbows to kind of guide ourselves to an angle where we can reach our flexibility and extension in our back muscles. So then once we can complete that, we rotate to the other side and continue this after completion of 15 reps. For our second set, we are going to be doing the Russian twist in a standard position, but this time we're going to be doing it with a single leg twist. Now what this one is going to be actually doing is going to include the fact that we are going to be doing a single leg extension while one knee is bent. With this one, it's going to strengthen our core even more, but more importantly focusing on our rotational stability and balance, which is going to increase the torso while we are in a seated position, challenging the core muscles to stabilize the body during the movement. Now this is going to activate our obliques, which is both internal and external. However, it's going to in fact actually reach our rectus abdominis and our transverse abdominals as well. This is an exercise that also engages the hip flexors, but remember this is a main priority is our core, where this is actually putting a lot more work on the lower core aspect, where we are extending that leg to actually influence more stability, engage in our core muscles. Finally, for our third set, we're going to be doing a slightly slanted position with legs extended. Now, this is going to be a Russian twist, but this time we are going to be slightly slanted in a way with our back, but we are going to be extending both legs out while we're doing our Russian twist. Now, this is going to be working our upper core, which is going to be more engaged and more enhanced when it comes to stabilization. And our main key factor is to make sure that we keep our legs straight as possible to maintain that core activation in the lower aspect of our core, to maintain the ability to activate our muscles in general. Now it's time to enter our cool down phase. So we're going to begin with a medium to light walk on the treadmill for 5 minutes to cool down the body, and more importantly, kind of relax our muscles as we actually were successful in completing this workout. Now it's time to relax and kind of cool off the body by actually still putting some motion into our body, but we're not using any explosive power. We're just using a 3.5 mile per hour speed on a 1 incline scale to actually help kind of reduce the tension in our legs, to kind of relax it, and to more importantly just keep our body loose as we get ready to begin our cool down.
I literally have to do this for like a cool down thing on my video. Nice. Yes. Then I have to do a jogging segment, but I do not want to jog right now since I just ate lunch. That's fair. I was like thinking about it, I'm like, oh wait, no I can't do that, I just ate a freaking sandwich.
Jog on that one though.
I really forgot when I stepped on it and I looked down and I'm like, oh,
I want this one.
Thank goodness it's not done.
Huh?
Not done. Well, no, I was just like, why is this treadmill seem awesome? And I was like, oh, okay.
That was cool.
That'll be the reason why. Get warmed up with this shit. Let's go.
Our next one we're going to do is our cross arm stretch, where we're going to be doing each arm for a minute, but more importantly, we're going to be pulling one arm across our chest and holding our other arm by the forearm, which is going to help us stretch the shoulder muscles and our deltoids, making sure that we get maximum flexibility back into our arms, but more importantly, just stretching it out completely, breaking down the used up fiber muscles and replacing them with new after an intense workout. Next, we're going to be going into our arm leans extended stretch, which is going to be just mostly a little bit of a hip flex into one side of our leg, but our main priority is stretching out our lats and our upper body or shoulder muscles in general. So with our hand palm extended and flexing, we're going to be reaching on the other side as far as we can, but not too much that we don't want to hurt ourselves. But this is going to be a great stretch to use when it comes to actually getting a good cool down and relaxing the muscles on the upper body after that heck of a ladder exercise that we did and put ourselves on. Next, we're going to be doing our side lunge adductor stretch, which is going to be held for 30 seconds per side. This one's going to allow us to stretch out that adductor, which is going to be the inside of our leg of above our knee, which is basically how we can do a lot of lateral quickness, or more importantly, a lot of squatting. But this one's going to be stretching out so we can make sure not to feel as tight in the inside of our leg to maintain our posture. We're going to maintain our feet stable on one side when we're flexing one side with the knee and extending one with the leg, using our arms as stability to make sure that we can still not put too much pressure on the leg that we have extended, but also helping us just make sure that we get the good stretch in. Our next stretch we're going to be doing is our sitting leg spread stretch, where we're spreading our legs, but we're reaching one side for 30 seconds. With this, we're stretching out our hamstrings and our calf muscles. With the calves, we're actually implementing with our hands, flexing the toe, not by force, but a little slight, as you say, but just slightly, just so we can get that calf flex, but also helping us stretch it out as much as we can, making our muscles relax even more. Activating the stretching will actually make us focus a little bit more on actually being flexible in our upcoming workouts in the future, but also making sure that we can loosen and not have any tight muscles. And finally, we are going to be doing our leaning forward toe touch, where we're going to be holding this for 1 minute, stretching our hamstrings in general, and just mostly focusing on that glute as well as we lean forward as much as we can, so we can actually have the capability of stretching our lower back, but also having our glutes be engaged as well. But majority of it is going to be focused on the lower body, and as we stretch it, we can say goodbye to this workout and just go among our day. So it was a fantastic workout, and I have to say it was probably one of the toughest I've created so far. So this is a great workout, but at the same time, I'm glad I got it done, and it was very much worth it to get all of this done.